Introducing Weight Watchers for Menopause. It's the #1 doctor-recommended weight loss program, now with menopause-trained medical experts and nutritionists, ready to give you the care and results you deserve. Join us today at WeightWatchers.com.
Based on a 2023 survey by Cerner and Visa, 500 doctors who recommend weight loss programs to patients.
Hey, welcome into Walgreens.
Hi there.
Hey.
All right, hon, I'll grab the gift wrap, cards, and, those stuffed animals the girls want.
Great. And I'll grab the string lights and some... How about I grab some cough drops?
This is not just a quick trip to Walgreens.
I'm fine, honey.
Well, just in case. You know what they say. 'Tis the season.
This is help staying healthy through the holidays. Walgreens.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individuals participating in the show. All persons described or mentioned in the podcast should be considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This podcast contains subject matter such as violence and graphic descriptions along with adult language, which may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Well, we're going to cover time travel. You're listening to the Mysterious Brews podcast, and tonight we bring you the case of time travel? Is it real? What?
Welcome to a deep, dark, dank, moist basement somewhere in the bowels of Georgia. That opening was so precise, I don't think I can throw any background music into it.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, I'm getting pretty good at this.
I know, after 300 tries.
I'm getting pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Dude, this puppy that we got is evil.
Well,
she's mean.
Most puppies have a little mean streak in them.
God, this thing's mean. Keeps running out.
No.
I was trying to grill tonight, and anytime the door would open, she'd just take off.
Yeah.
And apparently I'm not allowed to beat her.
You can get a newspaper. They still make them.
I've got a wife that would kill me.
How about a water bottle?
Well, we tried that with the first dog.
And he liked cayenne water?
Huh?
I said he's part Cajun. He likes cayenne water.
Yeah. He was like, man, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I had a black lab puppy one time. I've had, for a long time, that's all I had was female black labs. And I got one. Smart, man. She was smart. So she kept turning over her water dish. And so I was like, I'm going to fix your ass. So we had a bunch of old bricks in the backyard, and I went over there and I got some cleaner and I cleaned the shit out of this brick and I scrubbed it and I cleaned it up good and I put it in the bottom of her water dish, and it was a big old pan, and set it back out there, filled it up, went inside, cracked the blinds. Sure enough, she comes prancing her little ass over there. She starts drinking, and she would always scratch the water out of the pan, and then she'd pick the pan up and prance around. Well, she starts scratching and she hits that brick, and she's like, what is this? And so she's trying to pull at it, and then she just dunks her whole head, picks up the brick, spits the brick out, scratches all the water out, picks the pan up, starts prancing around the backyard like, that ain't gonna do it, bub. Fun times. Join us next week for Puppy Brews.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't take my wife places because I can't tell the woman no.
What'd y'all buy next?
Well, I'm saying that's how I ended up with the dog.
Oh, I know.
Another dog.
I know.
Because she wanted to take the original dog to PetSmart for trick-or-treating, and then we left with a dog.
Happens sometimes. Spat those eyelashes, and you just like, okay.
Yep, that's what happened, man. She was like, can we, baby? And I'm like, yeah.
Yes. You're not the first, and you won't be the last.
I know, man. Can't. I can't help it.
All
I
right.
love the woman.
I think we do have Dr. Katie B, who requested this episode, upgraded her tier, so we're going to give her another shout out like we don't shout her out enough. Now the internet is crawling. We had another new patron.
We got us a 5-star review.
Yeah.
We do.
What we got?
From Al 72560, Arkansas check-in, 5 stars. I've been listening to y'all for years. When I catch up on episodes, I just start over. Y'all have been my home renovation partners, garden planting buddies, and road trip companions. Bonus points because I live in Stone County, Arkansas, and I feel like I know y'all. Love the show. Love this show.
I feel like we're honorary members of the state, but I'm still terrified to drive through there and then be pulled over and somebody be like, man, your voice sounds familiar. We should arrest you.
Just because your voice sounds familiar, we're just going to arrest you.
Well, we shit on just about every municipality in the state. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure.
We really have.
So, I mean, it is a great state. It is a wonderful state. I do love it.
Oh, I absolutely love Hot Springs, man. I had a great time in Hot Springs.
One of our lovely patrons, and I apologize for not knowing who it was, wanted to know if you was going there for you honeymoons.
No, we ain't got a honeymoon planned yet. I'm going to take her to the beach when it gets warm again. This girl loves her some beach.
The Ackworth Beach?
No, I'm going to take her to Alabama.
Ain't nothing.
Ain't a thing on this earth
I
that I
can't do.
want to do that I can't do in lower Alabama. Just the fact that it's lower Alabama.
I know. And I swear, if you asked him, he would say, yeah, I like L.A., lower Alabama. He is a man of few words, but those words ring true.
I wonder how he is.
Last time I checked on him, he was doing pretty good. He's found him a new manservant, and I'm not saying that as like a backhanded compliment. He takes in wayward, and this sounds bad too, and it's not. I mean, he takes in these wayward kids. It's not really taking them in, but basically, these kids that come from a shitty situation that need a little bit of extra money, he finds stuff for them to do around his house, and he doesn't take them in as in they got them room and board and stuff. No, that's not it. And then he'll, like this latest one, he had a sister and she needed some extra money, and he's like, well, honey, I need my house cleaned. Now you're going to have to do a good job. You're going to have to do it once a week. But I mean, he really does have a great heart, and he talks like he can't put his shoes on in time himself, but the man's brilliant.
Yeah, he is.
If we could get him on the podcast without him knowing it, that would be
oh my gosh,
golden.
Yeah, we'll have to trick him.
Well, you can do that with barbecue ribs or a fishing boat.
But if you got ribs on a fishing boat,
you are double in. So I don't know if I've ever told this story, and then we'll get to it. But I went crappie fishing with him, and I did say crappie because he corrected me 27 times. Crappie is something you do in the toilet, boy. Crappie is what we eat. And so he tells me, he said, now you need to be at my house at daylight was like 6:30. I had to be there at like 5:15. We go eat at some greasy spoon that only takes cash. And then he goes, now, when I fish, by God, I fish. I was like, okay, coach, I got you. And he goes, what I'm saying is I ain't stopping to eat. So I'm going to stop up here and get some gas for the boat. And if you want any snacks, boy, you better buy them now. That man did not lie. We did not get out of that boat. We were there from daylight till about 5:30, and they wasn't. The only reason we left before dark is because we hadn't had a bite in like 2 hours. So the running joke is, if you go fishing with him, you better not go hungry. All All right, so let's kick the tires and light the fires, ladies and gents. We are doing some time travel stories in this episode. And these are some lesser known ones that I have not heard of. And then there's the more famous ones that we will tackle because we've done a couple of time travel standalone episodes. But the first one is two professors claim they saw Marie Antoinette at Versailles.
Yeah, and they wrote a book about it.
Yeah. And
they were, fine, upstanding women. Like, they were respected in their fields. They were, they're not really the type to just make something up.
The book is called An Adventure, and the year was 1901, and a pair of friends, 55-year-old Anne Moberly and 38-year-old Eleanor Jourdain, were on holiday in France. And for those of you that aren't aware, a holiday means a vacation, but the people across the pond take a vacation for many, many weeks. So they were both teachers at St. Hugh's College in Oxford. Moberly was in fact the principal there, and Jourdain would become her successor 14 years later. With a Baedeker's tourist guidebook in hand, they set out to see the Palace of Versailles. They turned to visit the Petit Trianon, a small chateau on the grounds given by Louis XVI to his 19-year-old wife, Marie Antoinette, as a private retreat for her to personally use. The pair got a bit lost searching the chateau, and it was during this, adventure of them trying to figure out where they were, they made history, or so they say. They encountered several people in the year 1789 period attire, carrying out periodic events, and passed a handful of structures that had not existed since 1789. This unexpected visit to 112 years in the past culminated with an encounter with Marie Antoinette herself, sketching on the grounds of her chateau. It was only upon being snatched out of their reverie by a modern tour guide that Moberly and Jourdain suddenly found themselves once again back in 1901. Within months, they had published their account in a book called An Adventure. And like Coach said, they were respected academics who did not desire bizarre publicity. They only published it under some pseudonyms, kind of like your favorite podcast pair here. Their experience became known as the Versailles time slip, the Ghost of Trianon, or Moberly Jourdain incident, and it has intrigued researchers, historians, and enthusiasts of the paranormal ever since.
What do you think, though? I mean, what the whole concept of time slips, you think possible?
I do, because there's just a ton of them. And there really is. There's these little incidents that don't last very long that people are like, what the heck just happened? And like you said, these were two highly educated English women with an impeccable reputation. They're not liars. They had nothing to gain by making up the story. And in fact, if they came out with it if they had written that book under their own names, they would have lost probably their jobs.
Yeah. I mean, you open yourself up to ridicule.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. It was, I really do, like in this situation, and we say this a lot about UFOs, the paranormal, Bigfoot. You take a look at the person's character before the incident. You take a look at what happened afterwards. Did they gain financially? Are they on those speaking or the conference circuit?
Right.
And no, they just reported what they saw. I mean, I don't know if you remember the episode of Blind Frog Ranch where they have that Navajo. He's retired now, but he was a Navajo police. Him and his partner kind of were like the Navajo Mulder and Scully. They they checked out all of the reservations, right? Paranormal stuff. I was listening to a podcast on the way to Peachtree City, and that's 24 hours I'll never get back.
Ugh, that sounds awful.
Yeah. Sidebar, let me explain something to you. If you ever find yourself having to give a presentation where data is needed, do not, under any circumstance, cite data from 50 years ago.
Yeah, not very smart.
And then in education, don't you dare cite any data pre-COVID. I can guarantee you the more I sat in that room for 50 minutes, the higher my blood pressure went. And this guy was so great. I mean, not great. He was so proud of himself. And then he uttered the words. I only pulled this set of data because that's the only access I have. I didn't have the other half of the data that he just left blank. So it looks like, a whole shifted data graph. And then he went as far to do the data analysis, and his standard deviation was like something crazy, like 15 or 16. And I'm like, the first thing they tell you in statistics is your standard deviation has to be less than 1. But anyway, sidebar over.
I just wish you'd tell me how you really felt.
Oh, man. And that was thank God that was the second one. If that had been the first one, I'd have just got my shit and left. But anyway, the next one is a pilot thought he saw a futuristic plane. So we have Sir Robert, I think is his name. Yes, Air Marshal Sir Robert Victor Goddard.
Oh, yeah, I know this story.
In Edinburgh in 1935. It was a dilapidated airfield, he said. And he made note of it in his notes that he carried in his plane. So he actually landed there, made some notes about what it looked like, got back in his plane and took off. Heavy rain and low visibility. That's that visibility prevented him from going too far. So he turned around and headed back to the airfield to wait the storm out. As he approached the landing strip, he claimed that something very strange happened. The clouds cleared, the sun shone brightly, and he saw that the previous abandoned land was now bustling with mechanics in blue jumpsuits. There were 4 yellow planes on the tarmac, and one of them was a kind he had never seen before. Fast forward 4 years, and Goddard was sent back to the airfield, and now it was in full use, complete with blue jumpsuit wearing mechanics and yellow planes. And sitting on the runway was the plane that he could not identify back in 1935, a Miles Magister. The Magister was first manufactured in 1938, 3 years after he allegedly saw it. And this was
crazy. That's suspicious.
That's weird.
That's weird.
And that's the thing, like, this one's very...
That's suspicious. That's weird.
This one's pretty famous. I mean, in anything that you look at, you see this one.
And again, an upstanding citizen. He was, he's in the Air Force. He's not the type, he wouldn't be the type to make something up like that and then, again, risk his career for being thought of as crazy.
Cray and the Ray. There was another one. What was it? I don't know if this was it. Well, we'll just go with it. So the next one is 2 journalists allegedly experienced an air raid 11 years before it occurred. Journalist J. Bernard Hutton and photographer Joachim Brandt were sent by a German newspaper to do a story on the Hamburg shipyard in 1932. It was an uneventful visit until the bombs allegedly began raining down on them. Hutton and Brandt realized that they were caught in the middle of an air raid and fled, but not before snapping some photographs. When they got back to the city center of Hamburg, no one believed their story. They developed the photos they took, but none of them showed signs of an air raid. 11 years later, Hutton encountered a story about Operation Gomorrah, and Operation Gomorrah, if I can get the paid thing to get out of the way, was on July 24th, 1943, British bombers raided Hamburg, Germany by night in Operation Gomorrah, while Americans bombed it by day in it's known as the Blitz Week. Britain had suffered the deaths of 167 civilians as a result of German bombing raids in July, and they turned the tables. The evening of July 24th saw British aircraft drop 2,300 tons of incendiary bombs on Hamburg in just a few hours. The explosive power was the equivalent of what German bombers had dropped on London in their 5 most destructive raids. More than 1,500 German civilians were killed in that first British raid. Britain had only lost 12 aircraft in that raid, and there were 791 that took off. So that's pretty good.
Not too bad.
They equated their success to a new quote-unquote radar jamming device called the Window, which consisted of strips of aluminum foil dropped by the bombers en route to their target. These window strips confused German radar, which mistook the strips for dozens and dozens of aircraft, diverting them from the trajectory of the actual bombers. To make things worse for Germany, the U.S. 8th Air Force began a more comprehensive bombing run on northern Germany, which included 2 raids on Hamburg during daylight hours. So Hutton had actually claimed that the photos of Operation Gomorrah were exactly what he had experienced in 1932. And like I said, this actually took place a year later. There is a ton of stuff that went on during Operation Gomorrah. But again, they try to, we have a situation where they try to document it this time, and it doesn't, the pictures don't come out. And what was it I saw the other day? Something about trying to photograph some of these UFOs or take videos of them that I go back to like the Cash Landrum thing. They said that it was putting off such a radiation thing that it would screw up the film. And the Hessdalen lights, I think, have the same phenomenon when it comes to it. Like when they try to take pictures of it, they streak. You see a light moving, and you try to take a picture of it, and it's like in these weird streaks.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So, again, they really had nothing to gain and probably were ridiculed beyond belief when it happened. Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold.
What is it?
I misspoke.
Uh-oh.
I had a little bit of that math dyslexia. I said a year later. No, he was reading a story about Operation Gomorrah, which actually happened in 1943 when him and the other guy, Joachim Brandt, saw it and tried to take pictures of it. That was in 1932. So 11 years. 11, not one. Now, we had a little bit of a discussion before we started recording. I don't remember if we've covered it or not, but the next one is the Green Children of Woolpit.
I think we did. I think it was like real early on, maybe like in, we did like 3 topics in one.
Yeah, we may have then.
If you go back, you can't find it. You're not going to find one titled The Green Children of Woolpit, but I think we did cover them.
Now,
I don't think this is a time slip. I just think that they literally came from, the center of the earth. They found their way out.
Well,
so I wouldn't agree that this is a time slip.
Well, the way they talk about it was, and it's a local legend in the 12th century, a young boy and a young girl were found alone in Woolpit, England. They didn't speak English or any other identifiable language, and their skin was green. They were taken in by a local villager, and though the boy died soon after, the girl survived and eventually learned to speak English. Finally, she was able to tell someone where she came from. She said she had come from a twilight-covered place called St. Martin's Land, and that she and her brother were taking care of their father's sheep one day when they found a cave went into the cave, and after walking for what felt like a very long time, they emerged in Woolpit. So, yeah, I kind of agree with you. This is not really a whole lot of time slips. Even, well, yeah. Supposedly it took place during the reign of King Stephen or the reign of King Henry II. And it was at harvest time. There was no mention of the Green Children in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles. However, that was the paper of the day. I don't know. This one's kind of touch and go. I don't know. The Ralph of Coggeshall did not say when this mysterious appearance was supposed to have happened. He claimed that he was told the story by a man named Richard Declan. And little is known about Colne. He reportedly was a wealthy landowner at Wilkes, and he may have been some sort of knight. He is said to have perished in or prior to 1188. Ralph of Coggeshall claimed that Colne took in the Green Children. Now, I'm trying to scroll through this to make sure I didn't miss a date. I don't see a date. Yeah, this one I'm going to have to go, I don't know. Because it's in the 410 studies. That one's a little bit on the fringe there. Now, the girl knew the name of her homeland. She did not know where it was relative to Woolpit, nor did she know how she and her brother arrived in East Suffolk. In William of Newburgh's account, she claimed that her and her brother, like I said, were tending their father's flock when they suddenly heard a mighty din, quote, such as we often hear at St. Edmund's when they say the bells are ringing out, end quote. They recalled that when they focused on the noise, quote, it was as though we were out of our minds, for we suddenly found ourselves among you in the fields where you were harvesting, end quote. So I guess that's the time slip, like they were transported. But in the other account, they go through a cave. So if you didn't have the count of the cave, then I could see where it was a time slip. If they were tending sheep and then heard bells or a sound or something like that and then found themselves in Woolpit, then yeah, I could kind of see it. They did say that first they didn't eat anything but raw beans. Raw bean stalks. Yeah.
That's gross.
Yeah, it's almost like it as bad as cooked tomatoes.
It's raw tomatoes. I just can't do it, man. Raw tomatoes are nasty. But I like cooked tomatoes. I don't know. Don't get me. I don't know.
That's okay. My wife can eat cooked and raw and hates ketchup. So
it took me forever to understand why I like salsa, because the tomatoes are cooked. I was like, I can't stand raw tomatoes, but I like salsa. And I mean, I was like in my late 20s when I realized why. It's kind of sad, but it's true.
Sad but true. Sad but true. Okay, so the next one we have is Iofar Vorin claimed he was from Laxaria.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. In 1850, a man named Iofar Vorin was found in Frankfurt on the Oder, Germany, and questioned. He spoke very broken German, which made his claims even more difficult to understand. He said he was from Laxaria and spoke the language Laxarian and Abramian. It's like Abram and then an Ian on the end. Abraham, I don't know. He said he was in search of his long-lost brother, but he was shipwrecked on the way to his destination. Boren allegedly didn't recognize any of the maps or globes that were presented to him. He claimed the world as he knew it had 5 sections: Secria, Aflar, Aslar, Oslar, and Uflar.
Uflar?
He said Uflar. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's not going to be it. Sorry. In the yearbook of facts in science and art, John Timms reports Voron was taken to Berlin to be questioned and studied. Oh, Yofar. I don't know. There was one I wanted to try to get off of the Why Files, and I still think we should do it as a standalone. It's like this guy is German. He's writing memoirs. He's trying to help someone speak German. But basically he gives him these manuscripts written in German, and the guy's reading them, and then the guy later goes somewhere else, back to Switzerland or something. I don't know. And he realizes these manuscripts are his account of living in the year like 3069 or 3093 or something like that. It's a wild ass tale. And this is before World War I think, when this originally happened. The Yofar Voron, he was also has been referenced as Josef Voron. He actually arrived in a small village in the district of Liebes. And I'm trying to see. He said people say this is very similar to the man from Taurid. He appeared to be Caucasian. Like I said, spoke very barely understandable form of German. Wrote and spoke in some strange language. And then people have tried to say that he was an interdimensional being. He also claimed that his reason for visiting Europe was to locate his long-lost brother, but his memory was skewed because of the shipwreck. There was a news article. I don't know. This one, people are on the fence. It's either he's an interdimensional being or it's a flat-out hoax.
I would say it's probably a hoax. That man from Torrid, though, that is a strange case. Not a whole lot of information about it, but
no. And there's another one. This one's kind of famous, about a guy that was killed in Times Square. He was wearing period dress, had coin.
yes.
They said that one was actually debunked. It was a short story, and the picture that's always used is actually a criminal from the time period that was a horse thief. So, yeah. There's if you look up Yofar or Josef Voron, you'll see that older news article. And basically it just says the same thing that I told you. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm leaning towards not real. Now, the next one, we have 4 friends said they traveled from 1979 to 1905. In 1979, Jeff and Pauline Simpson and Lynn and Cynthia Gisby were traveling through France. When it became late, they decided to find a hotel for the night. They found a place not too far down the road, and according to them, it was kind of odd. The doors to the rooms only had wooden latches, no locks. The windows only had thick shutters, no glass. In the morning, they had breakfast at the hotel and encountered 2 armed French policemen who were wearing odd-looking uniforms, complete with capes. The whole experience at the hotel seemed strange, not because of their stay, but because that the cost of staying the night was only 19 francs. Other hotels in the area were 200 francs a night. Still, they went on their way, and on their return journey tried to stop and stay at the same hotel, because I bet they were like, hell yeah, this was a nice place. We only had paid 19 francs. Except it seemingly vanished into thin air. And the uniforms of the French police, they were from around 1905. So the way that this one is, it says these 2 couples were from Dover. They were traveling through France and Spain. And around 9:30 that evening on October the 3rd, when they began to tire, they looked for a place to stay. It was a very plush looking motel. When Lynn went into the lobby, he encountered a man in a odd plum-colored uniform, and so this would have been the policeman. The man said there was no room in the motel, but there was a small hotel south along the road. He thanked him, and him and his traveling partners traveled on. They were, as they traveled to this smaller hotel, they were, I guess, gobstruck is a good word, flabbergasted that the road actually narrowed and was cobbled. The buildings were very period, like turn of the 19th century. I'm sorry, turn of the 20th century. And then they started seeing these odd posters advertising a circus. Quote, "It was a very old-fashioned circus," Pauline said. "That's why we took so much interest." Finally, they find this long, low building with a row of brightly lit windows. There were some men standing in front of it, and Cynthia spoke with them. They told her the place was an inn, not a hotel. They drove further down the road until they saw two buildings, one a police station, the other an old-fashioned two-story building bearing a sign marked hotel. And when they went inside, everything was of heavy wood. There were no tablecloths or tables, nor were there any evidence of any modern conveniences such as elevators or telephones. The rooms were very strange too. The beds had heavy sheets, no pillows, and like I said, they were heavy wooden doors with only latches. The bathroom they had to share had an old-fashioned plumbing. I'm thinking a chamber pot. What you thinking?
I believe that's what I would be thinking too.
So after they ate, they returned to their rooms, fell asleep. I woke up at sunlight or daybreak and went back to the dining room and ate a simple breakfast with what was described by Jeff as black and horrible coffee. As they were sitting there, a woman wearing a silk evening gown and carrying a dog under her arm sat opposite them. Quote, "It was strange. It looked like she had just come in from a ball, but it was 7 a.m. I couldn't take my eyes off of her," end quote. At that point, the two French policemen came in. Quote, "They were nothing like the police we saw anywhere else in France. Their uniforms seemed to be very odd. They were deep blue, and the officers were wearing capes over their shoulders. Their hats were large and peaked. Despite these oddities, the couples enjoyed themselves, and when they returned to their rooms, the two husbands separately took pictures of their wives standing by the shuttered windows. On their way out, Lynn and Jeff talked with the policeman about the best way to take the autoroute from Avignon and the Spanish border. The officers didn't seem to understand the word autoroute, and the travelers assumed that they had mispronounced it. The directions were given to them were very poor, and they took the friends to an old road some miles out of the way. They decided to use the map instead and take a more direct route along the highway. After their car was packed, Lynn went to pay his bill. That's when he found out it was only 19 francs. Lynn explained that there were 4 of them, and they had eaten a meal. The manager was like, "Yeah, 19, buddy. Let's get to it." So on their way back from I'll save this to the end. On their way back from Spain, they decided to try to stay there again and could not find it. They found the turnoff and noticed the circus signs that they had seen before. Quote, "This is definitely the right road." It was, but there was no sign of the hotel. Thinking they had missed it, they went back and could not. They went back to the motel where the man in the plum-colored suit had given them directions. That motel was there, but there was no man in that unusual suit, and the clerk denied such an individual working there. The couple drove 3 times up and down this road looking for the hotel, and then began to realize it wasn't there. So then they drove north, spent the night in a hotel in Lens, and this hotel had the modern facilities, breakfast, and it cost them 247 francs. Upon their
That's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, just a tad. Upon their return to Dover, Jeff and Lynn had their respective rolls of film processed. In each case, the pictures of the hotel were in the middle of the roll, but when they got to the pictures, The ones they took inside the hotel were missing.
It's so strange, man.
They say there were no spoiled or blurry negatives. Each film had its full quota of pictures. It was as if they never took the pictures, except for one small detail that a reporter for Yorkshire Television would notice, quote, there was evidence that the camera had tried to wind in the middle of the film. Sprocket holes on the negatives showed damage. The couples kept quiet about their experience for 3 years, telling it only to friends and family. And one friend found a book in which it was revealed that the French policemen wore the uniforms described prior to 1905. Eventually, a reporter for the Dover newspaper heard the story and published an account later, and then a television dramatization of the experience was produced by a local station. In 1985, a Manchester psychiatrist Albert Keller hypnotized Jeff to see if he could recall any more of this peculiar event. Under hypnosis, he added nothing new to what he consciously had remembered. Jenny Randalls, a British writer who investigated this bizarre episode, wonders, quote, what really happened to the four travelers in rural France? Was it a time slip? If so, one wonders why the hotel manager was apparently not surprised by their future vehicle and clothing, and why he accepted their 1979 currency, which certainly would have appeared odd to anybody living in 1905 or earlier. That's my thing. Like, my spidey senses tingle for the fact that you are packing and unpacking a car, which would have been odd to if it was a time slip.
Right. I don't know, man. But that one's a strange one. I've heard about it before. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I think it's possible.
Yeah, because there's another one where, was it someone was visiting where you go back like a village and they're dressed in period clothing and stuff. What do you call it?
Like a Renaissance fair?
No, it's kind of like where if you went to like I can't think of the damn thing. I've slept. Kind of like
a reenactment?
Yeah, but it's like a whole village. Like you go in and they're dressed in period clothing, they're churning butter, and they're doing yada, 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 yada. I can't think of what they're called. But anyway, there's a real famous one of like they go visit this, let's for the sake of an argument, say Renaissance Fair. And they enjoy it, and then they leave. And as they're leaving, they encounter horse-drawn carriages, people in period clothing, and they're like, man, they really go all out here. And they ask someone for directions, and they kind of look at them like they're from outer space because they're driving a car. There was one is this it? Yeah, now this is another one. This one's kind of short. This one says that around 1974, driving from Madison, Wisconsin to Bayfield, Wisconsin, a distance of more than 300 miles and 6 or 7 hours. This man states, as is my habit even today, whenever I can do so, I kept the primary highways in favor of county roads. I made the same trip several times before, and I had a consistent route. This far north on this road, then went west a few miles on that road, then north again on another road, then you get the point. Because I'd made the trip before, I knew three things: which roads I would take, how long it would take to get from one to the other, and the total time of my trip. On this day, however, my best laid plan went all cattywampus.
Oh,
yeah,
that's another word.
At some time during my trip, I suddenly found I was on a northbound road I had not intended to take, a road I had never taken and would not have taken under any circumstances. I found that I had, quote unquote, lost something more than an hour. That is, given the amount of time that had passed, I should have been an hour farther north than I was. Sounds almost like an alien abduction. I don't have any mysterious implants in my body, and my butt don't hurt. I don't remember. And then he goes even further, and he says, I don't remember, poor me, having had a sexual encounter with a lustrous alien female. Jesus. he says he didn't have like highway hypnosis where you just basically are just in the doldrums of a long drive and just, oh shit, it's already, an hour later. But his thing was just be careful when you're going through there. There's another long one about time slip from Texas to Egypt.
What?
And he was visiting a friend in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Look at us tying it all back together to the great state of Arkansas. So this guy says the first incident I recall was in 1975. I was in an old house in San Antonio. A couple of college friends lived there, but the house was about to be condemned, so they were throwing a huge boozy party. Rumor had it that the house had been a bordello, but college kids and creepy rumors inevitably go together. Anyway, it was an odd, creaky, and huge house. I went upstairs and crept down a hallway with multiple doors on each side. I opened the door, and it was daylight. I saw two men arguing. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but I sensed it was about a woman. Apparently, they could not see me. Both men were in their late 20s or early 30s. One man was Latino. The other man had blonde hair, and his shirt collar was open and sort of hanging oddly. I later learned this was probably a detachable collar, although I'd never heard of such. The Latino man pulled out a knife, and suddenly the blonde man had a gun, and he shot that Latino in the chest.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden it was night again, and I heard the party going on downstairs. I think he got a hold of some hunch punch, to be honest with you.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Then he says that in 1981, he was visiting a friend in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. They go to a bar located in the basement of an old historic hotel. He says he was not drinking anything alcoholic that night, and suddenly the bar's gone. He was in a very quiet room with two tables that looked like hospital exam tables. There were sheets on the tables, and the room felt very clinical and sterile. I don't recall seeing anyone in there, just a room with two beds, and then the bar returned. I asked my friend what he knew about the history of the place. Was it ever a hospital? But he knew nothing about it, and that was in June. I couldn't stop thinking about it, so in late October of that year, I wrote out something much like what I've just shared and put it in an envelope addressed to a local historian in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. I also enclosed a stamped self-addressed envelope. Figured, hell, what do I got to lose? A couple of years passed. I moved to another apartment. Then one day my former landlady calls me and tells me I had a letter that had arrived at my old address, which is odd because she never contacted me before. He drove over there to pick it up. I was confused when he saw it because it looked like he had written it. Of course it was, and he had forgotten that he had sent this self-addressed envelope. Somehow that makes it to his landlord. In the letter, it says that the basement had served as a makeshift morgue during the Civil War, and the room that he had asked about had been in and served as the embalming room.
Ooh, creepy.
Yeah. This son of a gun, I think, is making shit up because then he goes to Scotland and has another one.
Well, this guy can just, go in and out of time at will. Sounds like it.
Tinkerbell, he's wiggling his nose. His most memorable, he said, was in the Valley of the Kings in Luxor in 1996. They were at the Ramesseum, a wonderful site of toppled statues and ancient ruins. Pretty sure I butchered the shit out of that, but I walked out onto the excavated foundation of something, just a scraped out square of sand surrounded by what looked like the remains of a low wall. I stood in the center, feeling the heat of the blazing sun. Suddenly I felt cool water trickling over my head. I actually jumped from the unexpected feeling. The water level didn't quite reach my ankles. Above me were banners of colored cloth stretched across the pergola. There were also fluttering flags along the sides of the structure. The floor was at an incline, and a wide stream of water flowed from the elevated side down using an Archimedes screw. And people were seated in low chairs and benches, talking and enjoying the feel of the cool water. It was absolutely the most refreshing thing I had ever felt. Then it just all vanished, and I was back in the baking sun. Really, dude, you need to
This guy, him's special.
We need to put GoPro on his ass.
Yeah, for real.
The last one that we will go over is about Dr. E.G. Moman, maybe? Now my internet is just a spinning. Yes, here it is. In Kent, in 1935, Dr. E.G. Moon, a very down-to-earth Scots physician with a practice in Broadstairs, was at Minster in Thanet, visiting his patient Lord Carson, who lived at Cleve Court, a haunted house referred to elsewhere. After talking to Carson, the doctor left his patient and made his way downstairs into the hallway. His mind was very clear, but occupied at the time with the instructions he had given the nurse about the prescription he had left for Carson. At the front door, Dr. Moon hesitated, wondering whether to go back upstairs to have another word with the nurse. It was at this point the doctor noted that his car was no longer where he had left it in the driveway. In fact, it had been parked alongside a thick yew hedge, and that too was not there. Even the drive down which he had driven from the main road was now nothing but a muddy track, and a man was coming toward him. This man, only 30 yards away from Dr. Moon, was very oddly dressed, wearing an old-fashioned coat with several capes around his shoulders, and he also wore a top hat of the kind seen in the previous century. As he walked, he smacked a switch against his riding boots. Over his shoulder, he carried a long-barreled gun. He stared hard at Moon, and the doctor registered the fact that the man coming towards him might have looked more at home in the 1800s instead of the 1900s. Remarkably, Dr. Moon seems not at the time to have either been alarmed or surprised by the change of scenery, or by the oddly dressed man approaching him, or the fact that the fucking car in the hedgerow's missing. What preoccupied him was the thought that Lord Carson still had his prescription. He simply turned away without any concern to go back into the house, but he did quite casually take one more look at the scene as he was leaving. And now, as if by magic, there was his car, there was the hedge. The drive was no longer muddy, and the man had disappeared. Dun, dun, dun.
Greetings from my bath, festive friends. The holidays are overwhelming, but I'm tackling this season with PayPal and making the most of my money. Getting 5% cash back when I pay in 4. No fees, no interest. I used it to get this portable spa with jets. Now the bubbles can cling to my sculpted but pruny body. Make the most of your money this holiday with PayPal. Save the offer in the app.
Ends 12/31. See paypal.com/promo terms. Points can be redeemed for cash and more. Pay in four subject to terms and approval. PayPal Inc. and MLS 910457.
You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find it.
You can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you. Ooh. Find your next ride at Autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
So, yeah.
Very odd indeed.
Dr. E.G. Moon of Kent, England. Yeah, very odd, very odd, very odd at all. We did cover John Titor. So if you like these, go back in the archives. And we've kicked around, I don't know, man. The Montauk Project is very fascinating on the surface. I just don't know about old Al Bielek.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's a little bit of a character.
Yes, he is.
So, I don't know. Just don't know. But that whole thing about a portal opening up on the USS Eldred is quite famous. Quite, I say. Well, that concludes our list of odd time slips. If you have some, like I said, there's one I want to cover, I think, more in depth that I was talking about earlier, the year 3069 or 93 or 96. I don't know. But, and that one, if I remember correctly, that one has not been disproven or debunked. So we'll let you decide. But if you have one that you're like, damn, they didn't do this one, let us know. And we will.
We'd be more than happy to.
We'll be definitely more than happy to. And I'm sure the good doctor will let us know where we stumbled. She always does. But recommendations, I've not really watched shit since, because we recorded right before Halloween, so this is only a couple days later. I've really not.
Yeah, I really haven't. I don't really have a recommendation either.
I have one recommendation. Since the time change, my ass is dragging. So go to bed early. How about that? That's my recommendation. Go to bed early. You can't go wrong with extra sleep.
No, you really can't.
Okay, so food talk. I saw a thing where a lady took a chicken cutlet, which if you don't know what that is, they take them there chicken breasts and they beat the shit out of them until they're a little bit thinner. And she fried it with a thick, crunchy crust and
that sounds good.
Folded it like a taco and stuffed it with mac and cheese.
That's some next level fat guy stuff.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
what I'm. That's big back. That's some big back raise my cholesterol is what I'm gonna do. And then, I'm sure that you've seen that Steve Harvey show where they take little pieces of chicken and they deep fry them. They look like wings, but so they've got like it's like a hot sauce boneless wing, but inside of it they had wrapped, like one of them had mac and cheese wrapped in it, one of them had collard greens, and Steve eats the one with collard greens and he goes, "I'm about to have a whole black moment here in a minute."
Yeah, I've seen that.
So me and my son were talking tonight. We were talking about taking some like wonton wrappers and doing like an egg roll kind of thing and putting like buffalo chicken and stuff like that in it. You know, big back fat boy, fat kid stuff.
Oh yeah, that's definitely fat kid stuff.
I'm all about. Oh, now disclosure. I did tell Coach we were going to record earlier today, and most of you are not aware, but I'll let the cat out of the bag. My wife doesn't have celiacs, but she has gone gluten free and has lost a ton of weight over a year and a half by doing that and watching her sugar intake. So we've kind of adjusted. There's some things I'm like, I want the real deal. But we had a hankering for spinach tortellini and Italian sausage soup because it was just cold and rainy today. So she's like, I'm going to go get a gluten-free tortellini. And I'm like, that's awesome. So she looks it up. It's highly recommended brand. So we go to the Publix and they have it, and it's by Taste Republic. And so we are cooking it. I taste the broth. She's eating on the couch, and I taste the broth. Man, it's so good. Man, it's so good. I go and take a bite out of the tortellini, and the two ways I can describe it is rancid Parmesan cheese that smells like feet. And I don't know if any of you out there remember when you had a newborn-ish under a 1, but when they would lose their bottle, the smell of that fucking formula, and I'm sorry, but yes, I'm starting to sweat now. Like I gagged. I bit into that thing like 2 or 3 times, and that's what I tasted. And I'm like, oh my God, this can't be this bad. Well, about the time I bit into it and I'm about to die, she has eaten her second one. She goes, I don't know if you've tried it, but they are awful. And I was like, God, thank God you said something. And I'm spitting it out in the trash can. So we picked out all the tortellini because they didn't bust. The broth is very good. So we're thinking about saving it and trying it tomorrow with some grilled cheese, kind of like a souped up tomato soup.
Yeah.
But man, if you ever get a chance to eat by Taste Republic gluten-free 4-cheese tortellini, don't. I can't. It's been years since I ate something that was that nasty. Like, you know, you'll eat stuff and you're like, you know, it's not very good. I'm just not going to have any more of that. But this, literally, I had to spit in the trash can. So my recommendation is do not buy Taste Republic gluten-free 4-cheese tortellini at the Publix.
Fair enough. I won't.
Don't you do it, buddy.
I say you better not.
You better not.
You better not.
So, I had a what if theory and I lost it. So I'll probably try to remember it and talk to you, but we're going to try to do another one of those. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't one of the big ones. It wasn't if we went to the moon or none of that shit. Man, what was it? Anyway, whatever. It don't matter. As soon as I hit stop, I'll remember it. But anyway, ladies and gents, if you, like I said, if you have any recommendations for like a standalone or 2 or 3 time slip things, let us know. We'll cover those. We do love a good time travel episode. We have a lot of recommendations for some more missing people in Arkansas that we're going to tackle. We've had one out of Athens, and I'm trying to get some more information about that one. Athens, Georgia, not Athens, Greece. Cody from Down Under, if you're listening, I still have your list that you sent us from Australia. We're going to start knocking them out. But that's about it right now. You got anything else there, Slapnut?
Oh, you know I don't.
Deuces.